TO Blaze.
Hey there, this is Tio bringing another Kerbal Space Program video, and in today's video I'm going to be constructing a ship, and I'm going to use that ship to go out and recover a command module in the ocean, or in this case, kind of off the coast of the KSC. So bear with me here. You're about to see the footage is going to kind of take a jump. Unfortunately, I recorded the construction of the craft, and my computer ran out of memory, and I didn't realize how much of the footage didn't get recorded. So here you see I've got a later version of the craft. I'm going to kind of go through it part by part in case you wanted to follow along. Um, yeah, this you could recreate this in theory, I guess, if you wanted to. I like to show at least things like robotic parts, any part clipping that I happen to do. In the case of ships, sometimes you got to do part clipping just to make things work correctly. Um, as you can see, this design, I really tried to keep it simple with the entire cargo bay running down the center of the ship, and then all the fuel and engines attached radially in symmetry, in mirrored symmetry, so that the craft has a nice center of gravity and doesn't want to rock too much. When using ships, usually I find these engines work pretty well. The Goliaths, you could experiment. Most of the air breathing ships, engines rather, tend to work pretty well, even submerged underwater for some reason. So okay, here's where the footage is in real time. Well, not real time, but I'm actually constructing the craft. I'm going to go ahead and swap over to VAB, which allows you to select the Cove launch site, which in earlier footage I actually showed myself unlocking the Cove, which I'd already done in a previous video, but I lost all that footage as well, so no big deal. You guys have probably already seen that. So these are just some little trials to see how deep in the water the craft actually sits, because again, the purpose of the video is to go out and recover a command module. So I want to be able to back up the ship so that the command module kind of floats into the belly of the ship, and then I can grab it with. Okay, apparently later on is when I actually created the grabbing arm, so you guys get to see it twice. So that's the plan anyway. I'm going to use this little the junior claw to grab the payload. I'm also going to, at this point, you can see, experiment with adding some weight to the back of the ship. There's different parts, obviously, that have different mass, and for the size, you have a different, I guess, amount of efficiency, mass by volume. So I find those metal struts do a pretty decent job, but as you can see in a moment here, the Kraken disagreed with me. They start wobbling around. They start tearing things apart inside the ship. So I'm going to try something a little different, which is also something that I didn't realize I had done later. So you're going to see it twice. And it's adding more of these ore containers. So the ore containers by default are empty, but when you fill them with ore, they add quite a lot of mass. So that's one of the ways I like to counteract the buoyancy of all the ports in KSP. For whatever reason, everything's something buoyant. So I'm kind of experimenting with that. It's helping a little. Here you can also see I added a command module with a decoupler to just simulate, get to see how far in the water the command module is going to float. I didn't add a heat shield, which I probably should have for realism. Later in the video, spoiler, the heat shield is a factor. So as you can imagine, the heat shield is going to add some mass. So it's kind of starting to polish up the design. I was kind of using the recent Artemis mission recovery as inspiration. There's a large ship that went out and recovered it, and it's an amphibious assault ship. So like there's pictures of the whole back of the ship open, and the craft's kind of in there. So that's kind of what I was going for with this. So yeah, some more sea trials. So you see I'm kicking off the temporary wheels. The Cove launch site is perfect for testing ships. Any wheels that you attach, they only have to roll a short distance. And then, for realism, in theory, those wheels could go and be retrieved if you didn't want to leave any debris. So here you see I'm testing the buoyancy of the ship and the command module, and it did actually work. The grabbing unit grabbed the command module. The robotic parts aren't super strong, especially these little hinges. So there was a little movement, but I'm going to resolve that movement here in a second by adding some struts. There you see those little storage containers off to the sides. I put some struts in there. I also put some struts just already attached to the wall, and here I'm going to create a little bay where the engineer can come out, and I realized my floor wasn't centered. So I'm kind of just doing a few tweaks here, using some struts to make sure that the floor is nice and solid. And yeah, so that's the plan. I'm gonna put an engineer in there. He needs a little ladder that he can climb in and out of. I didn't talk too much about the earlier parts that I added. I added RTGs, which I typically don't like to do, but I mean the U.S. military uses nuclear energy all the time, so RTGs on a ship, not a far stretch. And yeah, so let's do one more last sea trial. Pretty happy so far. And now for the main event, let's go ahead and deorbit a command module. So this is just a quick little design I threw together. I used Alt F12 to put it into orbit, so that's why it's got a completely fueled stage. And yeah, it did take me 2 attempts to deorbit this thing precisely. I kind of use some video editing tricks so that you hopefully don't see the splices, but the first attempt, it landed in the KSC. So my second attempt, I actually got it between the KSC and the island airfield. I was pretty excited about this. It's really, it was about as close as I could have hoped for. I didn't want to change my inclination to kind of match the cove. I wanted to stay in line with the KSC, so that's why I'm going to go out and have to sail this ship to my destination. So I'm going to speed this footage up a lot, I think 16 times. In IRL, in real life, this probably took me about a 10-minute sail, which wasn't a huge deal. I was kind of playing on my phone, left the footage on, and it's a nice, peaceful sail. So what else? Yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying some of the latest videos that I've been putting out. I've got a whole list of things that I want to do. I've also got a lot of old footage. I get mixed, mixed viewership when I do series, and I have obviously a lot of footage of some of my older series, and I may still release some of that stuff. You know, content is content, and if you enjoy KSP, if you enjoy watching my videos for different reasons, then so what if, you know, don't get a whole lot of views on some of them. I do want to put out quality stuff, so sometimes I'll not publish videos if the quality is poor or if it's just not up to standard, but so anyway, definitely got a lot of content in the pipeline. Hope you guys are enjoying the new stuff. So I've got my ship lined up pretty well. It actually handles very well. If you go back to the footage and you build a craft like mine, it's going to handle pretty well, which is nice. You do have to cycle the Goliath engines to reverse thrust and forward thrust to kind of move it around. Here you see I'm having some trouble getting the command module in the ship, and definitely could have been some different ways to resolve this. Either could have added some weight to the back of the ship in the back in the cutting room floor. Also could have made the grabbing arm with a telescoping cylinder, so I can like go out and grab things much further than the back of the ship and pull it into the ship. That probably would have worked pretty well. But I like to make things work on the fly because I'm not the best KSP player, and I kind of like for you to see my mistakes and the ways that I can resolve them. And here I'm using the reaction wheel in the command module to kind of kick the heat shield out of the way, kind of ooch it into the back of the ship. And in a second, you're going to see the footage kind of stutter, and there it's grabbed. So that's a success. I'm very excited and very happy. Mission accomplished. So yeah, that's about it. That's a recovery from the ocean of a command module. I'm going to go ahead and use my engineer to attach some struts so that the command module doesn't flop around back there, and those robotic parts aren't going to be holding all that weight. So thank you for staying to the end of the video. If you guys are enjoying it, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave some comments, tell me what you want to see in future videos. I'm always open to ideas. Appreciate you for tuning in, and I hope to see you in a video again really soon.